Greetings and salutations. I'm Christopher Platt, reporting for Your Black World News with an article from CNN. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and visit theblackbusinessschool.com to learn about financial literacy and how you can grow your business today. As the Grand Celebration cruise ship sailed away from the Bahamas on a humanitarian mission carrying nearly 1,500 hurricane evacuees, Siva Seymour looked back at the hundreds of desperate Bahamians left behind at Freeport Harbor. It was difficult for me to see that other people couldn't get on the ship who probably needed to be there more than me, Seymour, 56, said after arriving in Florida with more than a dozen of her cousins and grandchildren. Seymour, her relatives, and all those who stayed behind are among the 70,000 people thrust into homelessness on the Grand Bahama and the Abaco Islands by the strongest hurricane ever to hit the nation of about 390,000 residents. The death toll, now at 43, remains unknown 1 week after the Category 5 storm struck, but government officials warn that it will be far higher. Dorian lingered over the islands for days with winds of about 185 miles per hour. It crushed homes, schools, supermarkets, roads, and airports across the northern end of the Bahamas. Tens of thousands of dazed and exhausted survivors were left in the ruins. The most desperate seek refuge at airport terminals and ports. It was really difficult getting on that boat, Seymour said. I never thought I'd be in this situation. Tens of thousands of people have lost homes on Abaco and Grand Bahama, according to the United Nations. 1,000 tarpaulins were to be distributed to replace roofs, the International Organization for Migration said. The number of displaced is staggering, given the population of the Bahamas, but not unusual for a major environmental disaster, according to Marie Cristina Garcia, a history professor at Cornell University. The 2010 earthquake in Haiti left 1.5 million homeless. These 70,000 do not include the thousands who, though not technically homeless, will live in damaged homes covered only by blue plastic tarps, she said. You can still find blue tarps in the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico 2 years after hurricanes Irma and Maria. Search and rescue crews with cadaver dogs sifted through rubble on the Abaco Islands. The human remains they find are put in body bags and coolers. Marsh Harbor is the biggest town in the Abacos and one of the hardest hit. A truck delivered at least 2,000 bodies to a makeshift mortuary Saturday. The morticians told CNN the difficulty in reaching the dead was slowing their work. Dive teams were needed to recover many submerged bodies, they said. There are dead animals and gasoline in the water, said Elizabeth Nixon, who evacuated to Nassau but waited to be reunited with her children. The clinic was so bad the toilet bowls were overflowing. The sewers are coming up. Bodies are in the harbor. It seems like we're in a movie. Nearby, in the town of Mud, the devastation is so complete, homes entirely smashed, that it's difficult for residents to locate where their homes once stood. Local authorities believe there are people buried under the rubble, but they have no way of knowing how many or when they'll be able to get to them. In Marsh Harbor, U.S. Coast Guard personnel and Miami paramedics this weekend discovered the body of a woman buried in layers of debris in a scene likely to be repeated in the coming days and weeks. You could literally smell the death in the air as the water dries up and the sun comes out, survivor Sharon Roll said. Her home, her entire neighborhood, in the Abacos was destroyed, she said. There's nothing here, she said. We're actually sitting in our car now trying to figure out what's the next step. The powerful storm seems to have overwhelmed authorities in the small island nation, leaving most early relief efforts in the hands of Bahamian nonprofits and U.S. relief agencies. I don't feel safe, Roll said. I don't see the authorities around. They say that they're here, but I honestly don't see them. There's a lot of chaos. Abaco is demolished. It's finished. We need help. The U.S. Agency for International Development this weekend announced an additional $1 million in humanitarian assistance, bringing the U.S. agency's funding to $2.8 million for food, shelter, water containers, and other items. Its partner, the Bahamas Red Cross, will also distribute supplies, including portable stoves and towels. U.S. aid also has teams of disaster response experts on the ground. The UN provided another $1 million. This is already a humanitarian crisis. It need not turn into a refugee crisis if the displaced survivors can find shelter near their original communities or in less affected parts of the Bahamas, said Ann Richard, who served as Assistant Secretary of State for Population, Refugees, and Migration in the Obama administration. Florida Senators Mark Rubio and Rick Scott have asked the Trump administration to waive visa requirements for displaced Bahamian citizens with close relatives in the U.S. Environmental migrants are not covered by the Geneva Convention on the Status of Refugees, which protects people fleeing persecution, war, or violence. Jacqueline Bahaba, a professor at the Harvard School of Public Health, said there are strong humanitarian reasons for temporarily admitting displaced Bahamians to the U.S., as was done after the Haiti earthquake in 2010 and Hurricane Mitch in Central America in 1998. They aren't really strictly speaking refugees, but they are people who need protection, and who may well need protection, and who may well need refuge outside their country, she said. Bahamians continue to gather at sweltering airports and wharfs for flights or ferries to the nation's capital. Others await Florida-bound cruise ships. Most of the evacuees who arrived in Palm Beach by cruise ship were picked up by family members or were provided transportation to reach out to loved ones in the area. But 50 will be housed at a shelter, Palm Beach County officials said. The Red Cross and United Way, with Palm Beach County agencies, provided clothing, hygiene kits, wellness, and mental health services at the shelter, the county said. Of the 1,435 evacuees aboard the cruise ship, 539 are U.S. citizens or lawful permanent residents, U.S. Customs and Border Protection said. The others included 857 Bahamians and 39 evacuees of other nationalities. The first place they turn is their own social networks, said Jeremy Condendike, who was director of USAID's Office of U.S. Foreign Disaster Assistance in the Obama administration. Do they have family members elsewhere? Do they have friends who can take them in temporarily? Seymour, who arrived in Florida on the humanitarian cruise with 16 cousins and grandchildren, will stay with a sister at Port St. Lucie for now. I love the Bahamas, she said. I love my home. I'm hoping they can get things up and running. But I know it's going to take a while because we're basically starting from scratch. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to share this video and let us know what you think. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Your Black World News YouTube channel and visit theblackbusinessschool.com today. I'm Christopher Platt reporting. Until next time, shalom.